Hi, everybody. Welcome back to my spiritual journey. I'm your host, David Thomas Rocker. I haven't done this in a while, but today, since today is December 26th, the day after Christmas, I thought I'd talk about the true meaning of Christmas. Anyway, what is Christmas all about to you guys? That's what I really want to talk about in this video. And I'm sure, by the way, my family's not Christian. My family is Jewish. I was raised as a Jew. And so for most of my life, I haven't celebrated Christmas. Most Jews don't, unfortunately, I think. But, I've come to learn that Christmas really means a lot. And ideally, I think it should mean something to everybody, at least in one form or another. So that's kind of the point I want to get across in this video. Doesn't mean I'm a Jew for Jesus or anything. It just means that I appreciate Christmas for what it is. And I'll tell you exactly what I think it is. So, what is Christmas? I mean, when we think of Christmas, we usually think of Christmas decorations, Christmas tree, fire going fireplace, and you got the stockings over the mantle of the fireplace, and the whole ritual. That's what we think about when we think about Christmas, but I think it's obviously a lot more than that. So I'll just go in and so the meaning that I mean you might think the true meaning of Christmas, and this is how the holiday got started. It's of course a celebration of the birth of Jesus Christ, the savior of I guess according to the Christians, according to the New Testament. You know the whole miracle, the whole story of Jesus. He was born from a virgin mother, Mother Mary, Virgin Mary, and I guess Joseph was supposed to be her husband, but God endowed her with the true Son, the Son of God. You all know that. And of course, there were the three wise men who came to bear gifts to the new Messiah and all that. And I just have to tell you guys, I'm not a Christian, and I think a big reason I'm not a Christian is I don't believe in these miracles. I mean, my opinion about Jesus is that he was a great teacher. I mean, he really, I think he was light years ahead of where he was at the day, with his ideas of ethics and morality and how to be a good person. I think he really did live and he did have a congregation. He was a Jew, by the way, and he was a Jew until he died. But I basically believe in most of the stories about Jesus except for all the miracles. Because I just don't believe in miracles in general. But I've grown to love Jesus in other ways. I love who he really was, or at least I think he really was. And I think a really excellent play and movie about that is Jesus Christ Superstar. Very moving. I love that musical. I love the music in it. That's kind of what I think Jesus was really like. And of course, I think he really was crucified. And I think the Romans did that. Pontius Pilate, he was the one in charge of his crucifixion, and maybe one of his disciples turned against him, Judas. I don't know how much truth there is to that. It's possible. I don't know. But, I just think, that it all got overblown after he died. He became a martyr, and about 50 years later, I guess some of his disciples started writing the New Testament, and they made up all these miracles. I don't even know who was. I don't want to get into this because I could get a whole big discussion about hypocrisy and dogma and where biblical stories come from, and I'd probably upset a lot of you guys if I did that. So I'll be nice tonight. It is still the Christmas holiday. I don't want to offend anybody tonight. But anyway, so that's kind of where Christmas started from was the story of the birth of Christ. I just have to say one more thing before I get off of this. I thought there was a very funny scene in Back to the Future. I don't know if you remember this, but after Doc Brown was showing Marty his time machine, he said, "Suppose you want to, you can go back any time in history you want." And he's playing with his dials on the DeLorean. And suppose you want to witness the birth of Christ, and then he puts in the date December 25th, 0000. I thought that was hilarious because there was no year zero, first of all. And I don't think he was even born on December 25th. I've heard he was more likely he was born in the spring and probably about 4 or 5 BC. So they didn't get the dates right. And there's a lot we really don't know about Jesus, but I should get off of this because I'll probably get in trouble if I say any more. But anyway, so what is Christmas besides Jesus? I mean, there's a lot of other things. And, Santa Claus, of course. I mean, he was Saint Nicholas. He was a saint. I think he lived about 200 AD. I'm not sure exactly when. And there's probably some truth to some stories about him. I mean, he probably was giving toys to all the good children, in 200 AD around then. And of course, they turned him into a legendary figure too, into Santa Claus with a flying reindeer and the sleigh, and dropping children toys to all the good children, having a list, checking a twice, all that. Nice little fairy tale for children. And of course, most children, most Christians who celebrate Christmas with children, they tell their children about Santa Claus and the flying reindeer and the toys they'll get, and they say that he comes through the chimney and brings the toys to them. And most kids, I think, until they're about 5 or 6 years old, believe in this story, and that's fine. It's good to give kids something to believe in because, as we all know, the world's a pretty harsh place in a lot of ways. So, if you can help bring joy to children, I'm all for that. Even if you tell them little fairy tales that they believe in for a while, but at some point you gotta tell them that Santa Claus isn't real. I know that's a very, very hard thing to do, but I think at least for a few years you should kind of let them believe in this fairy tale. I don't have a problem with that. But as a physicist, I have a few things, kind of funny things to say about Santa Claus. First of all, if he was going to go to every single house on Earth to give toys to all the good children in every household on Earth, he'd have to be traveling about half the speed of light. And not only that, but Rudolph's nose would be green instead of red due to the Doppler shift. So I thought that's kind of amusing. And but you can make of it whatever you want. And so I guess that's enough about Santa Claus. What else is Christmas? I mean, I guess one nice thing about Christmas is you have a nice big family dinner, and this is an important point. Christmas is about family, and not it's not the only holiday about family. Thanksgiving is too. Thanks both Thanksgiving and Christmas. I think one of the best things about it are the big, huge family dinner you have. I mean, it's just a feast. It's like a indulgence of it's a celebration of gluttony, if you want to think of it that way. But not only that, it's the families getting together and hopefully getting along. They don't always, but they're supposed to. And it's just nice to have your whole family and even friends together on a special holiday, and it really brings a lot of joy to belonging to a caring family. And I think that's important. But is that really what Christmas is about? I mean, I don't think it's exclusively Christmas. I mentioned Thanksgiving. Also, since I'm a Jew, the same thing's kind of true of Passover. Passover is a big Jewish family holiday. And, in the same way, you get a big dinner. I mean, Passover is a little more depressing because it's about, how the Jews were freed from slavery in ancient Egypt. And, I mean, I guess it's another thing to be grateful for, God getting Moses to part the Red Sea and bring the Jews out of slavery into Sinai, become free. I don't believe in that story either, by the way. I think the Jews were slaves. The Hebrews probably were slaves about 4,000 years ago in ancient Egypt, but Moses did not part the Red Sea, and he did not hand down the Ten Commandments that were guarded by God. I don't believe that for a minute, any more than I believe in Santa Claus or the miracles of Jesus. So forget that. But, being a Jew, I've always liked Passover. And even though I never believed in the literal truth of the Exodus tale, it says something. I mean, it says that freedom's important. And it says that, the Jews should be grateful that they're free, that they're not slaves anymore. So, that's kind of something I think is important about having a big family dinner and celebrating something. And but what else is Christmas about? I mean, that's an important thing. But what else is it about? Is it about the presents? I mean, I think that unfortunately, the fact that we all enjoy getting presents on Christmas and Hanukkah. I mean, I think like just about all Jewish kids, I was told I was really lucky being a Jew because Christmas, Christians only get one day of presents, whereas Jews get 8 days, 8 nights. And, I mean, that's a little bit of a bogus story because, Jews don't get as nice presents on Christmas in general. It's just a way of kind of the Jewish parents kind of, wanting their kids to believe that they're special, that they get 8 nights instead of one, and but I think the biggest problem with presents on Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever other holiday around December that people celebrate is it's a big excuse for companies to just make more money. I mean, it's become a really commercial holiday. So that's something I really don't like about Christmas. Um, I guess or Hanukkah. They don't make this big a deal about Hanukkah, but it's not about the presents. I mean, gimme, gimme, gimme. We've had enough of that already. I mean, yeah, it's nice to give children a sense of joy, and I think that Santa Claus legend is connected with all the presents, but it's not about the toys. Come on. I mean, it's about the love. And I think we have too much of a taking mentality in our society. We should have more of a giving. And I guess we have to give the gifts to our children. We tell them they come from Santa Claus, but obviously they come from our friends and relatives. So maybe that's a good thing about the presents. We're thinking about each other. I mean, I don't want to completely knock giving gifts because gifts are a nice thing. They're an expression of how we feel about people we care about. So I take back some of what I was saying about the kind of, just capitalism going awry with presence. It's not as bad as that. It's really about thinking of your loved ones. But I think for kids at least, it's sort of about gimme, gimme, and I don't think that's a good lesson to be teaching them. But anyway, enough of that. So what else is it about? Well, this is a good thing. I think it's about kissing under the mistletoe. In general, I don't like traditions. I think most traditions that, have been celebrated throughout human history have been based on kind of just meaningless, ridiculous rituals, most of them even harmful. But one tradition I do really like is the tradition of kissing under the mistletoe. And this is one area in which I wish I was Christian because I'm sure if I'd had a girlfriend when I was a teenager and I went to a fancy Christmas party and we were both there and we just kiss under the mistletoe. It would be perfectly acceptable to do that. But that never happened to me. I never kissed under mistletoe. Maybe I will someday. I don't know. But anyway, that is one thing I like about Christmas. Um, and now I think I'm getting a little closer to what the true meaning of Christmas is. Another thing associated with Christmas is miracles. And like I was saying earlier, I don't believe in miracles. That's not entirely true. I don't believe in, like biblical miracles or fairy tales. At least they're literal truth. But I do believe in miracles in the sense that I believe in serendipity. And I think some unexplainable, wonderful things can happen and do happen to all of us. And I don't think it's just a law of probability. I think that good things happen more often than probability theory would suggest that they do. And I think we can kind of help miracles along. I don't think we completely know what they are, but I think they involve some kind of spiritual connection. I do believe in spirits. As a matter of fact, I think I have been rewarded by spirits. I think I mentioned a few other of my videos. I think my grandfather's spirit, the spirit of my mom's father after he died, helped me, even helped me, meet my first girlfriend at Michigan. So he was even better to me than mistletoe. But, anyway, enough of that, I guess. But no, I do believe in small miracles, maybe, unlikely happenings, maybe with a probability about 1 in 1,000, maybe eventually sometimes 1 in 1 million, but not 1 in 10 of the, not one in a Google, which is, I think, what would be true of most biblical miracles. So one on the Google's out the window, but 1 in 1,000, 1 in 1 million, I can fathom. So yeah, I like the Age of Christmas miracles. And before I get off of this, there's a lot of really good movies about and stories about Christmas miracles. I think that A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens is a really good novel about Scrooge, this really bitter guy who hates Christmas, and he's just kind of a miserable guy with no heart. Basically, he gets visited by three spirits. Of course, you know the story. I'm not going to go into it in all detail, but by the end of the book, he realizes the true meaning of Christmas, which is kind of a miracle for him. And I think my favorite movie about a Christmas miracle is It's a Wonderful Life. As a matter of fact, I think that may be my favorite movie of all time. I love that movie. And of course, Jimmy Stewart in that movie, I guess, what's his name? can't remember his name right now. George Bailey. I mean, he has a guardian angel and I think he kind of gives him the best gift he can possibly have, namely, when he's right about to kill himself, showing him what the world would be like if he'd never been born. I think we need to be shown that. We need to know that. Most of us do. Most people, when we're unhappy, we think that almost we think the whole universe is conspiring against us, but we're not seeing the whole picture. We're not seeing all the good we've done, how we've rewarded ourselves or others, loved ones. And I think we can't, lose touch of that because that's an important part of life. We have to realize that, if we're a good person, we probably help the world and ourselves in ways we can't even imagine. So, that's kind of a miracle. And anyway, enough of Christmas miracles, but I think that is a big part of the true meaning of Christmas. And what else? Music. I mean, and the first thing I want to mention about Christmas music, I used to sing when I was in college. I was in a chorus, and I was lucky enough to sing in performance of Handel's Messiah, one of the greatest works of music I've ever heard in my life. Amazing. And Friedrich Handel, he wasn't even really that famous a composer, I think. He was mostly just famous for the Messiah. He was a German composer, I believe, in the 18th century. And the Messiah is just an amazing masterpiece of music. It's about 200 pages of music. It takes about 4 hours to perform. And he wrote the whole thing in 3 weeks. I mean, that just boggles my mind because I think it's like probably one of the greatest pieces of music in the world that's ever been written. And I've had friends have told me that he had divine inspiration. Maybe he did. I don't know. I mean, all the lyrics are from the New Testament, but he wrote all the music, and it's just amazing music. And I don't know exactly how he was inspired, but it had to be inspired by a lot of his faith in Christianity. So I guess there's more to Christianity than I realize. I mean, if I had to point to two people throughout history who have been just amazingly inspired in a positive way by Christianity, I'd say Martin Luther King number one, and probably Handel number two. So anyway, this is an amazing piece of music, and I think it in part led to Christmas caroling. I mean, this is another thing I like about Christmas: the music. There's a lot of beautiful music associated with Christmas, and there's a lot of beautiful songs, even rock songs. I mean, I guess I don't like the traditional songs as much. Sometimes Silent Night kind of turns my stomach, but Jingle Bells is a fun song, and Deck the Halls, but I guess like the songs of the rock era, like Jingle Bell Rock. That's one of my favorite Christmas songs and the Christmas song by Nat King Cole, and I don't know, there's a bunch of other ones. Step Into Christmas by Elton John. There's some funny ones like I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus. I don't know, Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. There's some funny novelty songs about Christmas that I like too. But it's good when you can kind of laugh at yourself. So, we kind of all need a little bit of that. But all I'm trying to say here is that a lot of the music associated with Christmas is pretty damn great. So that's another thing I like about Christmas. But is that really what Christmas is about? I think it's part of what it's about, but I want to get more to the heart of what it's really about. And so, I mean, yeah, Christmas is a Christian holiday, but it started from festivals of lights, and I think just about every culture in the world has some festival of light, usually in the wintertime. And I think it's really great that they do that because it's a great time to celebrate with all these lights all around the place. I mean, I've seen beautiful displays of Christmas lights. My best friend has these two neighbors that have just these huge displays. You could look at them for like 10 minutes and not even see anything. One of them has a little Ferris wheel in it with little stuffed animals and a big crane, he's even got a boat set up. I mean, I've seen some pretty amazing Christmas decorations. So it really just brings you joy just looking at these decorations, and we all like lights, and we all like colors, and we all kind of feel like we're part of this big festivity when we see them. So I think that's a big part of what Christmas is about. But what is it really about ultimately? The other thing I'll mention about the Festival of Lights is that, like I said, it's kind of universal. I mean, I think pretty much every culture in the world has some sort of Festival of Lights, independent of their religion. I believe, the Jews do too. They put up lights around Hanukkah. And, I believe the Muslims do, and probably the Asians too. I don't know exactly what they do, but I know there's a lot of big religious celebrations, in the Far East, and I'm pretty sure all over the world. It's just kind of a universal thing. But what's really universal about Christmas? Well, I have to say is this: peace on earth and goodwill to men. I think this, if anything, I think this just stands out among all the things I've mentioned so far. I think everybody in the world wants this. We all want peace on earth. And it should say good will to men and women. Of course, most of society's been, sexist until maybe 50, 60 years ago. Now we have women's lib. Now women are considered equals in most of the world, or a lot of the world. So I really think it should see goodwill will to men and women, maybe goodwill to humanity. I think some people do say that. And I know there's a lot of animal rights people, so maybe it's goodwill to all life on Earth. I don't know. I'm not a big animal rights activist, even though I do think that animals are conscious and maybe have a spirit. I don't think they're the same caliber as humans. I hope you guys don't think I'm anti-animal because I say that. But I think mostly humanity. This says it all. This gets to the heart of what I think Christmas is all about. We should have peace. We should just all get along, and not just on Christmas, all the time. There's even a good song about that. I think there's a few, but "Someday at Christmas" by Stevie Wonder. He's imagining a world where we're all getting along. We're not fighting wars anymore, and that's what I'd like to see. I like to see the end of war. Everybody living in peace and harmony, and I think that's the main thing Christmas is all about. So anyway, that's my talk on Christmas for tonight. And one last thing I want to mention is my book, My Spiritual Journey. It's available on Amazon. I don't know how many of you guys have bought it, but I highly recommend it. It talks about a lot of the stuff I talk about in my videos. I don't think I say too much about Christmas, but I do say a lot about a lot of other things that are related to what I was talking about tonight. So anyway, I think I'll end it with that. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays, whatever you celebrate. And like I said, peace on earth, goodwill to men, and may God be with you, or may the force be with you, or what was it say? Live long and prosper. So anyway, that's my talk. Good night. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye.